Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Levon and I am your book review connoisseur, I like to go by. But basically, all of these reviews that you are going to hear on the channel, if this is the first one that you have heard, I know this is only two, so it's a good chance this is the first one that you have heard, since this is book review number 2. What I'm basically going to do for you is, since I read a lot, and during this time in quarantine, even though quarantine's starting to be lifted in multiple countries around the world, I work on board one of the major cruise lines around the world, so it was a good thing for me to be able to start doing something like this while being off work for the moment as well. Now, what I'm going to cover for you in less than the next 10 minutes is the top 3 takeaways from this book. A quick little introduction so you know what to be aware of if you are going to read this book, and kind of wrapping everything up together at the end. So without further ado, this is Copywriting Secrets by Jim Edwards. If you have not heard of Jim Edwards, he's the creator of Funnel Scripts. Funnel Scripts is promoted a lot with ClickFunnels. So if you are a follower of Russel Brunson, more than likely you have came across Jim Edwards. He also goes by the Copy Dude, where Russell Brunson obviously got the nickname the Funnel Dude as well. Now, what I liked about this book is it was unique because there was no fluff in it. Jim didn't spend a lot of time, like a lot of authors do, talking all about themselves, how they accomplished what they've done, how they got to this level, how they made their money, how they got their start. He didn't really get into that. He got right into the usable content in this book. And this is one thing that really stood out to me, and it totally separates this book from other books, is 90% of what he has placed in here. And you'll see when you read this book as well, that it's all different chapters that go by the name of secrets, secret number 1, 2, 3, 4, going all the way up to 30. So it's full of secrets, but it's usable content. There isn't a lot of fluff surrounding the whole point he's trying to get to with it. So this book was great for me, especially because of me becoming a copywriter. At the moment, I'm studying and I am part of a course to receive a national accreditation to be a copywriter as well. But we'll see how that goes. I'll talk more about that in another video. But let's get right into this. Okay, so the top 3 takeaways. Takeaway number 1. The most important piece of sales copy ever. Now, this really stood out to me because and I haven't really looked into copywriting as much, but this really made me understand from the point of you trying to sell something to a person. When you're actually talking to that person one-to-one, your interaction is extremely important. How you, at that first couple seconds when you meet that person, is how they're going to remember you. And there's a lot of stuff going on all around the world. So, I mean, you need something that's really going to pierce through that and get their full attention within seconds. This is why you see, especially on the internet, the amount of these crazy headlines and newspapers as well, of course, as you can see from here too. The newspapers from around the world as well use very catchy headlines on the front page to be able to get you to stop and say, oh wow, let me have a read of this. Right, so that's a very important thing. And the most important thing when it comes into copywriting, as Jim Edwards says, is number 1, have an amazing headline, something that's going to stop people. But of course, make sure it is authentic, make sure it is real, make sure it is actually relevant to what you are talking about. Because if you are going to have a headline that says sex and there's nothing about sex in the whole piece of copy, the article that you've written, then not many people are going to trust you. So that was top tip number 1, or secret number 1. Now, secret number 2, or top tip number 2, I should say, is it's all about them and never about you. When reading a lot of things that a lot of advertising you see on the internet, a lot of the time there is so much content about the person that started the company, the project, the program. A lot not about the customer itself. That's really what I find, and I really understood this. This is why that really stood out to me. And then, of course, when talking to your audience, is simplifying it to them as well. So when it comes into computers, for example, instead of talking about gigabytes, talk about memory. It has more space on it. When talking about inclusions in a diamond, talk about natural birthmarks of a diamond as well. I mean, there's a lot of examples that you can really use from this, but taking those big complex words, and a lot of the time you see industry specific slang, like it could be something to do along the lines of exercise, and then you talk about ketogenesis, or you talk about some big complex word like that, when ketogenesis means, you've eaten a lower amount of carbs over a duration of time, and it changes some stuff in your body. Keeping it simple, but talking to the audience in their way. And that's always an important thing. The great example Jim gave is, after your copy is written, imagine giving this to a 7-year-old and they have had to call 911. Could that 7-year-old communicate it clearly? And now, tip number 3. How to write an amazing sales letter, fast as well, really fast. So he just gave the basic steps of what you should do to be able to write an amazing sales letter and do it quickly. So step number 1 was what we've already talked about, the headline. Make sure that you have an amazing headline that stops people in their tracks and is like, wow, okay, I want to have a look at this, and click on the article or stop and read it. The number 2, or step 2, is a shocking statement. A statement that's going to keep the person there and keep them saying, okay, I'm going to keep looking through this as well. But it has to be something shocking, something different, something that makes people want to continue further. And step number 3 is then starting to define the problem. So what is the problem that this product service is going to solve? Define what that problem is for that person as well. And remember, explain it in the person's terms, not in your own terms. And then step 4 is aggravate. So make it feel worse because they have this problem and it needs to be fixed. So you need to then really start pushing those buttons with it as well. And then step number 5 is present your solution. So your product, service, whatever it is that you're selling, present that next in step number 5. And then step number 6 is use bullets to arouse curiosity as well. So something that's clear and simple for people to read, especially when talking about the online space, is bullet points. Bullet points as well, because you can have that little bit more space in between the text as well, so it's easier for a person's eyes to see it, especially if they are just browsing through and scrolling through that sales page after they've clicked on it as well. So then that would be bullet points. Step number 7 is a credibility statement about you. So then build some credibility about your service, about the product, about you, if it is a service that you are performing yourself. So then step 7, credibility. And then step 8, proof. This is where things like testimonials come in. If you don't have testimonials, then it would go into things like case studies, the science that you have found that helps to support what it is that you're talking about, or maybe the product's being seen and used on TV, so listing the television stations or whatever it is, just to be able to prove your product. Step number 9 is sum up and present the price. So then rebuild all of that value that you have explained and present the first price. And then after that, step 10 is the bonuses. One point that he made clear with this as well is when doing this for the website side of it as well, is the bonuses should equate more than 10 times the actual value of the product itself. So make sure to figure that out when you are going to be presenting those bonuses as well. And then step 11, guarantee, whether it be a money back guarantee over a month, 2 months, a lifetime money back guarantee as well. But make sure to have that guarantee in there so it removes any uncertainty that the person might have and think, oh, am I going to be wasting my money? Because they can at least see, okay, I can get my money back if I want to. And then step 12 is call to action as well. So this is again getting them to say, okay, I'm going to click on this. I'm going to do what it is that the copywriting script that you want them to do, but get them to act on it as well. And then step number 13 was the postscript, or the PS that you see in a lot of online advertising. So the PS again is just another way of kind of wrapping up everything that you have explained, but bringing it, condensing it as well, and then reoffering again. So those were the top 3 takeaways that I had from Jim Edwards and his book, Copywriting Secrets. But honestly, I could have spent an hour explaining these details from the book with, sorry, I said before 31 secrets, and not full of fluff, but usable information that you can put into practice in an easy to understand way. Trust me, you'll be interested in his program if he gives you this much for less than $10, because I purchased this book for my Kindle from Amazon. It was less than $10, well worth it. Read this book if you are interested in writing better and interested in writing to sell something as well. All right, but that's the review for today. That is book 2 that I have reviewed so far. Now make sure to subscribe to the channel as well so you can be updated when the next book review is up and out and ready for you to read through. Listen to me instead, take the top 3 things instead of you having to read through the whole book yourself, saving you a lot of time so you can take the usable content from that book and put it into practice somewhere in your life.